G'day, Steve. Welcome to Landscape Photography World. How are you going?
Yeah, good mate. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Been quite anxious to catch up with you. It's been a while since I first asked, and you've been avoiding me. So,
Yeah, I have a little bit. I'm a bit anxious, but yeah, I'm ready to roll with it.
well, as I said, I'll be nice and gentle. We won't ask you any tough questions. So, why don't you start with your why photography, and in particular why astro and storm chasing?
So it goes back to 2018. I was actually living with my parents and we are building our house, and I always thought I had an eye for photography. And we'd go on trips and stuff, and I wouldn't just stand somewhere and just take a photo. I'd be automatically looking for a composition without even really thinking about it. And so it wasn't until the end of 2018 when we'd been at living in mum and dad's for a year. I wanted to try something different. And I was just speaking to my wife. I'm like, I think I really want to get a camera. So I we talked about it and we ummed and I'm like, she's all right, go for it.
Good.
So I started shooting, just heading just out of town a bit and practicing photos down the road sort of shots and
Yep.
to get low, all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't until a pretty decent dust storm came probably about 30 minutes from home.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually just posted that online and it got a little bit of buzz. And I don't know if Daniel Shaw.
Yep.
Yep. So Daniel actually rang me through Facebook Messenger. He said, I want to help you out here. I want to check the photo, and because that's what he does, obviously.
Yeah.
And he told me to set up a page and all that sort of stuff. And that's how my vast depth socials became existent. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but I've been storm chasing probably a few years before that, and I didn't really have nothing to show for it. So that was another interest to me, being wanting to put the both together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the gist of it. And when I'm struggling a bit.
You all right? Talk about the
So
astro stuff, how that started for you.
yeah, with my astro stuff, obviously I live in northwest Victoria. We've got really dark skies here, and I was flicking through Instagram one day and I saw a couple of astro photos from Hanging with Pixels. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed at what this guy was getting on the camera. So that kind of sparked my interest for astro. And it wasn't long after I got my camera. It was just before Christmas actually. And I went out and I thought I'd try it. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew to use a long exposure, and I hadn't really looked up any YouTube videos or anything yet. And I did. I think my first shot was the old pointing the torch in the sky.
Yeah.
The cliche astro shot, but it wasn't even really much of the Milky Way because it was washed out from the moon. So I was wondered why that was happening, and I got onto finding out that you can use apps to recognize the moon phases and all that sort of stuff. So I started digging deeper, and it just rolled on from there.
Yeah. Okay. So, what is it that you're chasing most in your photography now?
It is mainly storms and astro at the moment.
Yep.
It's pretty hard for me to leave my general area due to I work full time as well, and obviously I've got a 6-year-old son, so just jumping off and leaving is hard for me.
Yeah.
But with storm season, I prepare for that as well, and my wife is very generous in those regards. She lets me go and do that. Yeah.
No worries. Do you think it's important to have goals in your photography, and do you have goals? Or
I think so. I don't have any particular goals, but I always like to learn. I've only touched the surface in what I do. I think I could go. I haven't really done much ocean photography or the sort of stuff that you do, long exposures. I've got 10 stop filters and stuff like that, but I've never really got right into that. And that's just another part of photography that I could learn. There's obviously not just landscapes, there's portraits and weddings and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not into that.
yeah, nor am I. It's not what floats my boat, and
Yeah.
so forth.
And I think in terms of goals, I think, when it comes to Ash, I really trying to push the camera. to its limits, and I would really like to get a zoom lens or something like that to start doing a bit of deep space as well. So that's something I'm pretty keen on getting into down the track. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Talk to us a bit about where you live. You mentioned you've got dark skies. Obviously, northwestern Victoria, there's towns get a little bit few and far between. Describe, for those that have never seen the place, describe what it's like.
So the town itself it's growing in size. They call it the oasis. So it's on the edge of the outback, but you drive half an hour from here and it's desolate. Lots of shrubs, flat landscape, dead trees, which is something I really love to shoot.
That red dirt outback look.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you drive an hour and you're in obviously southwestern New South Wales, which is when it really turns into that real outback feel. You got Mungo National Park and you're heading towards Broken Hill, which is basically the outback. Yeah.
So I guess the dark skies really help with the astro in a big way. How far do you need to go before you're into sort of border one territory?
Yeah, about 35 to 40 minutes. I'm in border one.
Nice.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
It take me about 2 hours to get anywhere with border one.
Yeah, I know. There's so much light pollution around. I mean, obviously Australia is nowhere near as bad as America. I was looking at a map the other day, actually, and I was just looking at all of the US, and the light pollution compared to Australia is just phenomenal. They've got so much light pollution.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of the main things that I like to pursue because of the dark skies, and it's easily accessible to me.
Yeah. So given you've got a full-time job, do you do a lot of planning around your shooting, or do you take a more opportunistic approach?
Definitely plan, especially my astro. There's a lot of dirt roads and stuff that I've got to go down. So if it's been raining, I like to just drive down them after the fact, just to see how boggy the roads are and easy access and in and out. But yeah, I always plan my astro using apps and the moon phase and clouds and all that sort of jazz, which is a pretty normal thing for astrophotography.
Yeah.
When it comes,
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, when it comes to storms, obviously that's always planning days before. There's a rule they call it the 4-day rule. 4 days out, you can almost lock in a general area, and I wait until 1 or 2 days before I make a decision that I'm going to go to a particular spot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll stay overnight somewhere just to be in that general area in case.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, sunsets are more on the fly sort of thing. I might get home from work and check the cloud. Golden hour comes and you see some clouds sort of lifting, and it's this could go off tonight. So that's more spontaneous. But definitely the astro and storms, I need to plan it.
Yeah, fair enough. And are you going into the field with a concept of what you want to shoot, or are you reacting more to the landscape, or have you already scouted where you want to be and you know what it is that you're structuring your shot around?
Yeah, I think with the landscape, I've got to think out of the box. You see some landscapes in New Zealand, for example, they've got mountains in the background, which is an easy back.
Turn around this mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with mine, I like to shoot low sometimes. Oh, most of the time, actually, I like to shoot low and use a subject for depth of field, and then lead into a tree, or there's some sand dunes around here that I can lead into those. And yeah,
cool. And I guess, when you're in the field, are you trying to put together in your head a composition, or are you just saying, okay, this is where I want to be, I'll set up here and off we go?
I basically have to find a composition because where I am is so flat. I think I usually just find a composition and I wait, especially for a sunset or something.
Yeah.
I'll find something and I'll just wait, and I'll say, this is the shot. I'm going to wait for it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to astro, if I find a tree I like, I'll just shoot the tree. Yeah. I've got a couple of mates' farms around the area. Sometimes I like to use the grain, the crop a bit of foreground that'll lead into the tree. But other than that, yeah, I'm pretty much just shooting the tree itself.
Yeah, yeah. Looking through your portfolio, I really love that shot with the light painted bus in it and the light painted figure. How did you come up with the concept for that? Was that something that you thought about for a while, or was it just something that you were messing around with on the night?
Yeah, I was messing around with it on the night. I had my loom cubes in the bus and I was just taking some shots, and I was actually using my phone torch
Yep.
to look at an area on the ground, and something just twigged, and I'm like, oh, okay, what can I do with this? So I did a couple of long exposures, just squiggles. I was gonna do like a light paint around the bus and just do the like a wavy sort of long exposure.
Yeah.
And then I just decided to paint myself, and it actually worked out pretty well. So I was pretty happy about that.
I love it. It's one of my favourite shots of yours, actually.
It's bit of artistic. Yeah.
Very distinctive. I guess when you talk about being artistic, when did that sort of flip for you from just most people start out recording what they see? They take a photo and it's a snapshot usually. And it's, as you said, you might have thought about your composition a bit before you did it. But beyond that, there's no real art to it per se. But at some point, that flips in your brain and you go, okay, this is actually artistic and this is where I want to lead my photography. How did that evolve for you?
So I think I just started out taking photos, and I started to recognize, like, I didn't know much about the rule of thirds or much of that.
Yep.
And then I'd see a couple of photos and I'd notice that a tree might not be in the right position, and like it just looked off.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to that spot and I'll just center the shot as a landscape, and then I would move in, take a shot. It'd be closer. And it was, I think when I started realizing what I could do in the certain frame of the shot, I think that's when sort of clicked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For that, obviously, astro and storm shooting, you still think, I still think you have a quite distinctive style. And if I see an astro shot, I know it's one of yours, and it's not just because it's a lone tree in a flat field.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. How would you describe your style to somebody that's not seen your work?
I think for the astro, I like to really show the core off, because that's the whole point. And especially I use the dark skies obviously as an advantage to really bring out the detail, and that's why I've got a star tracker as well to enhance that. And obviously I want to modify the camera itself one day to a H alpha, which brings out a lot of the reds in the night sky.
Yep.
So I think I just like to show off the core and make it vibrant and punchy. That's my style. Yep.
Yeah, cool. And how do you see your style developing over time? Obviously, you didn't start out that way, and you probably won't finish that way unless you say, all right, I'm done. This is what I'm going to shoot from now on.
Never done. Yeah.
I've never met a photographer who is.
That's right. That's a no. But when I had the camera I ended up getting first off was the Canon M50, and that's a crop sensor. So I had to really use post-production to make it work because of the noise that the crop sensor is like at night.
Yep.
So I think learning quite a bit in Lightroom and Photoshop helped me distinguish my style eventually. And so I used to start off not being so vibrant, and I used to just make the core a little bit warmer or something like that in the shot. But I think
no worries, that's fine. What does success look like for Steve in his photography?
That's a tough one. I think for me, actually being recognised by Nikon, that they actually want to share my work. I think that's they obviously like it. Oh, my headphones fell out. Sorry. Yeah, so yeah, they've shared quite a bit of my work on their socials, and that's something that I'm really proud of. And I've entered awards and stuff, and I've got, what's the word?
Highly commended, or
Highly commended. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, highly commended. So, yeah, I think being recognised by Nikon is probably my most proudest success. Yeah.
what about commercial success? Are you trying to sell your work in print or anything else? Or
I do sell some prints. I don't really push it. Obviously, working full time, I find it pretty hard to balance everything.
yeah,
Yeah, I've sold. I think most of my prints have been storm shots.
yep,
So that's good. It's good when someone messages you and says, "Hey, I really like this. Can I get it printed?" And then the process of getting it to them and seeing their face when they retrieve it, it's a pretty good feeling.
it sounds like you've been luckier than I have. I normally get somebody's, "Oh, I'd love a print of that," and you go, "Okay, what format would you like it in? What paper do you want it?" And then you hear nothing. Cricket.
I've had a few of those. I think it's normal.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of like once you actually test people, though, a lot of them chicken out.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly when you tell them
Yeah,
the price.
exactly. Yep. Yep. They want it for chips.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You mentioned the work-life balance sort of thing. So how do you balance full-time work and your photography? Obviously, full-time work and a young child can take up a fair amount of your time. How do you manage that balance?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to work at a school, so I get the school holiday breaks as well. So
Nice.
I can use that time to do all my scouting for locations, and I generally do those same kind of thing when it's summer as well. Obviously, the daylight savings and stuff helps me out with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the general process of getting my son to bed and all that sort of stuff. Most of my photography stuff happens after that,
Yeah.
editing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to shoot?
Ooh, favorite place.
Is there somewhere that keeps calling you back and you just keep getting dragged back there? Might be because you haven't nailed the shot, or it might be because you just love it.
I think Perry Sandhills. Have you heard of the Perry
Yep, I've heard of
Sandhills?
Perry
Yeah,
Sanders. Yeah,
yeah. It's always changing, which is a good thing. But at the moment, it's full of shrubs and stuff. So
yeah, yeah.
you,
Oh, the
you don't get
wildflowers and everything have loved the rain, haven't they?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. The rolling hills are not so rolling the sand anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I don't really have a favorite. I don't really have a
Okay.
favorite spot. I think I just love going out to shoot.
Yeah.
I was a gamer for 20 years. I didn't get out much, and I actually didn't know. Hang on, let me rephrase that. If you look at my Google Maps, there's like hundreds of pins of locations and stuff, and I would never have thought in a million years that I would even get to these places 5 years ago. But I just love getting out and exploring anywhere really now, which is good just to be outside.
Yeah. What's the furthest you've had to travel to get a shot?
I've been down to Warrnambool,
Okay.
Great Eastern Road, and stuff like that. They're probably my furthest shots. I haven't been overseas yet for photography reasons. I'd
Yeah,
love to obviously go to Iceland and all those epic in New Zealand, go to those locations one day to shoot.
yeah.
They're dreams for me at the moment, but definitely want to pursue that when I can.
Cool, cool. What's the most memorable experience you've had when you're out shooting?
I think this is probably my favourite storm shot, the mothership one,
Yep.
which happened just near Swan Hill at the start of last year. That was just an epic experience. I hadn't seen a shelf cloud that big before, especially on sunset.
Yeah.
And just before it was throwing off quite a few bolts. And when I got to an area where I could set up, the bolts dissipated. If I was getting lightning out of that as well, that would just be a monumental shot for me. But it's still my favorite shot of all time at the moment. And yeah, That's it.
Do you have any horror stories from your photography?
Not this one's not so much a horror story, but a bit of a freaky moment. I was out shooting one of the nautical twilight trees, and
Yep.
I was in an area that's fairly dodgy, probably 10 k's out of a fairly dodgy town, and it's not the best road to be on at night. And I was just shooting off the side of the road. Actually, there was a tree there, and a couple of cars go past, and didn't think much of it. And then one car drove past and stopped probably 200 meters away and sat there for a bit. I didn't really think too much of it. And then he did a U-turn and came back and drove past again. And then about 500 meters up the road, he's come back again. I'm like, here we go. Something's going on here.
You're starting to think Wolf Creek, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's what it felt like. And then came back, and then he did another U-turn and stopped the car. And I'm like, okay. So what I did was I got my torch out and just shone it right on the, like, pretty much where the driver's seat was, because I didn't know what was going on. I started walking towards, and he just drove off.
Yeah.
And then probably about 15 minutes later, another car did the same thing, but only twice. I'm like, okay, I'm done here. And then I was driving home, and I got to Derton, which is the town probably 10, 15 k's away.
Yep.
And just before Derton, actually, I was driving down one of the narrow roads, and the cops drove past, and they actually did a U-turn and put the lights on and pulled me over.
Yeah.
And they just said, "How you going, mate? Whatever." I said, "Yeah, not much. Just shooting some photography."
Shots,
yeah. And he goes, pause for a second. He goes, "Steve, is it?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Was that you down the end of the road, end of Fletcher's Lake Road?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, someone called in. They thought something was wrong with your ute or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Have a good night, mate." And that was it. So,
cool.
Yeah, I think they were just checking up on me in the end.
Yeah, just playing the Good Samaritan without actually coming up and asking you if there was anything wrong, which would have been the normal thing to do, surely.
That's right. Yeah. At first, it felt a bit freaky, but good outcome.
So I guess, what do you do to ensure your safety in these outback areas when you're out shooting on your own? Do you look, assuming you prefer to shoot on your own, or you do shoot on your own mostly, as opposed to going out with mates?
Yeah, I find it easier just to shoot by myself. But yeah, I honestly don't have much of a plan. I should probably carry a baseball bat or something, or a hockey stick or something. But I don't really plan it. I guess I could use my tripod if something happened. But if they got a gun, then that's a different story. But I don't really plan for that stuff. I just do my thing and get out of there.
Yeah. No. Hope you don't encounter any characters out of Wolf Creek.
Yeah.
Aside from carrying a baseball bat or a hockey stick, what have you learnt about the world through photography?
That's tough. I think it's just all about capturing moments for me. Some of those moments don't happen again. And I think that's something that I like to, especially with the storms, that's something that is a rare phenomenon. But I think I just like taking a snapshot in time for me. Yeah.
Nice. Let's talk a bit about the process. You've made your plan, you've gone out, you've set up. Are you finessing your compositions much, or are you set on what it is that you want to do and you've got a pretty good idea about what you're going to do before you get there? And what sort of things are you looking for in terms of putting that comp together?
Yeah, so I think I like to, like I said before, once I found a spot, I'll stick to it. I don't like really moving around much. If I have to, I'll come back to that spot and shoot another subject. But I really like to finesse the composition. And when I look for it, if I look for like a tree stump or something like that, I'll make sure that I find something that doesn't have clutter and keep it really the focal point on that particular subject. Because when you do go out there, where I live, you might find a really nice shrub or something, but there's a lot of shrubs near it. So you've got to single out subjects quite a bit when I'm out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All about simplifying it then.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
Cool. So, for your astro, are you doing anything particular? You mentioned getting a star tracker. For those that aren't or are just beginning in astro that might be listening, what sort of things, what sort of tips can you give them about getting started in that field?
I think the best thing to do is just get out there and try it. When I went out there, I was terrible. I had the exposure open too long, and I was getting star trails and all that sort of stuff. But to be honest, trial and error is probably the best thing to do. YouTube videos really helped me as well.
Yeah.
Just to get those right settings. Yeah, I think that.
What about investing in a star tracker? It's not necessarily a beginner's tool, but there are people that are just starting out that might have gone and invested in one. Do you have any sort of tips for using one, or?
Yeah, so polar aligning in Australia, or the Southern Hemisphere in general, is a lot harder than the Northern Hemisphere.
Yep.
And I think you really got to nail the latitude. If your latitude's off, then you won't be able to find where you want to align to.
Yeah.
And I usually use my phone and rest it on top of the tracker at 180 degrees, so due south.
Yeah.
And I'll work from there.
Yeah, cool. So, in terms of learning your photography, you mentioned YouTube. Did you get any mentoring or any other assistance, or did you seek out anyone else to help you, or was it really just stumble around in the dark, literally, to try and get to where you are now?
Yeah, basically that was it. It's all self-taught. I haven't done any courses, or I haven't. Obviously, I've met people along the way, and they've given me some tips and what have you. But other than that, I've just done it all myself. And yeah, just self-taught. So it started off as a hobby obviously, and it's just turned into a mega passion.
Yeah,
and I like to push myself as well. So
yeah, cool. When you got the shot, you get it home, are you straight into the editing suite, or are you leaving it for a while and got other things to do?
it depends on the day. If I'm busy, I'll just leave it. But I'm always pretty keen to, start editing. And sometimes it can be within an hour or so, and I've already posted onto social. I really like getting into the post-production stuff. It's something that's obviously photography is the art, but post-production can really make it what it is.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you learned a lot of that through the same sort of means.
Yeah, not so much YouTube and stuff. I'm an IT tech by trade, so I've learned Photoshop along the way, just in my job in general. The Lightroom took me a little bit, but I just learned to just by playing with settings, and you up the sliders, you down the sliders, and just getting it to what you like.
Yeah, okay. So what does an edit consist of? I obviously don't want all your secret recipe and the full workflow. But are you making sort of global changes, or are you making more specific changes to various regions in the image?
Yep, obviously it depends. So with my astro stuff, my latest astro stuff, I'm doing a lot of blending. So I'll shoot the foreground blue hour or just after and blend it in. But with my sunset shots, I just go by what I see. I don't really have a workflow, but I've come to a kind of style edit that I really like, and it just all happens from there. I might have shot the exposure too low or something, so I've bumped the exposure up and just played with the global settings. I use radial filters, and just the general settings.
Yeah, contrast edits and so forth.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you hit a creative wall? Have you ever hit a creative wall, or?
Yeah, I have. Towards the end of last year, I was just blocked. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I sort of just put the camera down for a bit. Wasn't shooting much at all, but I think that's the best thing to do, is just walk away from it for a bit. And then I think it'll always come back to me. If
Yeah.
I've got a block, I'll just something will twig, and I'm like, I'm going to go shoot that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
What do you see as being the biggest challenge facing photography right now?
I don't know if I can answer that.
That's
Obviously,
okay.
there's the copyright issues and people stealing images and stuff. I don't like. I've seen plenty of photos of mine being shared without recognition credit, and but
Yeah.
you just can't change any of that sort of stuff on those social media websites.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's just a today problem either.
No,
You look at the art world and the number of fakes that have been kicking around since forever.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, it's always existent, but yeah, that one's a tough one.
Yeah. What do you think about the future of photography? Where do you see it going?
I think technology is always changing and pretty rapidly as well. I think the phones are just going to get better and better. What you can do now with some of the phones is just ridiculous. You can even get quite decent astro shots out of, I think it's the Pixel, the Google
Yeah,
Pixel,
yeah,
the Oppo. I think, Paul Wilson has been shooting a little bit with that with the Oppo phone.
yeah. Seen some of his. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just crazy what's happening with the phones these days, and I think it's just going to get even better.
yeah,
And obviously, with your DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, they're always going to step up from where they're at now. So I think photography is just going to go to a next level.
yeah. I think one of the things for me that's very much it's not over the horizon. It's rushing towards us real quickly. Is AI? Have you experimented with any of that?
I have a little bit, yeah, really interesting. I created a couple of AI art pieces, I guess you could say, and the text input was basic to start with, and then I really got into it to try and get something out of it, and
Yep.
it was pretty amazing what I got out of it. Yeah, and I think AI is going to be insane. Already is insane.
Yeah, yeah. It's rapidly becoming a. I'm not sure it's a threat so much for the artistic people around they'll dabble in it and they might use some of it and some will wholeheartedly embrace it. But I think the fact if you enjoy going outside, taking photos of the world around you and whatever, nothing's ever going to change that. And
Yep.
no matter how many CGI landscapes exist, they're not going to be they might be perfect because you can generate the perfect conditions. They're not going to be human made. I think that part of it's going to be very interesting over the next few years to see that blending of the two. I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's a fad. I don't think it's going to disappear.
I completely agree. And what you said about if you're an artist, you're always going to go out and do what you love doing. It's not going to stop me from going out to shoot storms or astro or anything like that. Like you said, I've dabbled in it. It was a bit of fun, and move on. But some people will really stick onto it, and they might change careers because of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What's your favourite thing about being a photographer?
I think just being out in nature, it's just something I never really experienced beforehand, and I'm only just touching the surface of that as well. I'm only just around my hometown.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to go to the Sapphire Coast one day, do more of the Great Ocean Road. It's just, it's just all time at the
Yeah,
moment.
no, that's always the biggest killer.
Yeah, that's right.
What's your least favourite thing about being a photographer?
Astro, especially, is just the waiting around. Like sometimes there's no reception. I've got nothing to do and just lay in my car doing nothing.
Some hot drinks are always a good option
Yeah,
for Astro, aren't they?
that's right. Yep. Yeah, I think that's my least favorite thing.
Yeah, cool. What do you like to do when you're not out shooting?
I play a bit of golf. Just
Nice.
getting back into golf, actually.
You
I
got a
used to.
handicap?
Yeah, I do actually. I play off 11.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Best I got to was about 15,
that's pretty good.
and that was a long time ago.
Do
I
you
haven't
play
picked up
now
the
or not
stick.
really?
Oh, I haven't picked up the sticks in probably about 10 years. I've been doing
Okay.
photography.
Yeah. That's I was playing competition before I got back into Sorry, I'll say that again. I played golf before I got into photography, and I was playing competition and stuff like that. And then as soon as photography started, that was it. I hadn't played in 4 years. I want to get back into it. Obviously, with my IT job, I'm doing a lot of sitting around, and I just need to move more, I think.
Yeah,
so golf is up
definitely
there.
a good way, unless you're riding around in a buggy, but it's definitely a good way of keeping your steps up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I just joined the gym the other day, so I've been just starting gym. So that's another thing that I'll probably find interesting as well. But other than that, like just the normal things, catching up with mates, having a few beers, and just enjoying stuff outside of work and everything else, really.
Nice. Are there any photographers that have caught your eye that you think I should be talking to on the podcast?
There's always lots of photographers.
I've got a very long list already.
I can imagine. Definitely get Robert Downey. The guy's a legend.
I've asked him. He's been as cagey as you.
Yeah, he'll do it one day. Yeah, he's a great bloke, and he's just a wealth of information.
Yeah.
Glad I've connected with him. Timbo Slice, that guy's a legend. And obviously David Fairs, 2 top-notch drone photographers that I've really got along with.
Yeah.
There's another one. Wolf Mercury.
Yep.
He's got some really cool stuff out there. Yeah, so
cool.
And maybe you should try and get Ode on. That'd be interesting.
Sorry, who?
Hanging with Pixels. Ode.
Oh,
yeah.
I sent him a DM a little while ago, but I haven't got a response. But
okay.
That's cool. I ask and then I don't ask for a while, and maybe in 12 months' time, I'll pick it up again and say,
yeah, ready.
Yeah.
Obviously, you should try and get, I don't know if you haven't done Justin Sneed, Dreadlock Traveller.
Justin.
Nah. Yeah. Tim Bucker, all those storm chasing guys would be cool to listen to.
Yeah.
Will Eads.
Yep. Got him on the list. Yeah.
Good. Rob Embry. I don't know if you know Rob Embry.
Yeah, I've got him on the list as well. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, you probably got a lot of people.
Yeah, no worries. I've got one last question, and for most of my listeners, I think the most important one. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
I certainly do. I love it.
So you're
Bad luck to all the people that don't.
Fair enough. All right, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's been absolutely great catching up and finally getting to talk to you. Where can people find your work?
So at the moment, I'm just on Instagram. So Instagram handles Vast Depth Photography.
Yep.
Same as Facebook, and Twitter at Vast Depth.
Cool. Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnephotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.